Hi, Christy.
Hi.
How's your day going?
It's great. How about you?
Going fantastic. Actually, I'm happy to have you as our guest today for this interview because actually we know that you're someone who inspire, who trend leader. Is there a way you can tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, I have started my career early on. I'm lucky that I had someone who believed in me right out of college at my first job. I had a boss who believed in me and suggested that I try to be a trainer and teach other people how to do their job. Now, I was terrified because I don't like to speak in front of people. I was very, very nervous. But he believed in me and he helped me, told me what I needed to do to get the job and what to work on. And once I got that job and I taught my first class of new hires, I taught them how to do their jobs. I was sold. I knew that would be my career. I was really lucky to find that early on because I coach and work with a lot of people who aren't very happy in what they're doing. And I think it's so nice to have a career that you enjoy and do something every day that you love to do.
Most great speaker mention that even when they're about to give a presentation, they're a little bit frightened. They're a little bit scared. Like, what's going on? Because people who don't even go on stage, don't even get in front of people. Their excuse is they don't like it. They're afraid of it. But at the same time, people who do it anyway
Yes.
are still afraid. But what makes them do it anyway? Because is that way you can explain us the little thing?
Yes. Well, a lot of times people are very nervous. And we have this voice in our head that really, it's called self-talk. It psychs us out. It's very negative. It tells us, oh, I don't want to do this. This is going to be bad. I'm really nervous. And what we want to do is take a step back and take a deep breath and say, I have an important message to share. I was asked to share my information, and I have a gift that I can share with other people. How can I best do that? Really, I call it psyching yourself up with positivity, and it's okay to be a little nervous. The other thing is you want to focus on your audience versus yourself. A lot of times when you're speaking, you're focused on how nervous you are and what's my speech, what am I going to say, instead of thinking about, well, who am I giving the information to? What do they want to know? And really focusing on the audience more, it's really much easier if you do that and you remain positive about it and not get so caught up in, oh, I'm so nervous and I can't do this, it's going to be bad, versus what does the audience want to know? I'm here to share with them and use the skills. So one of the things I do in my classes is I teach people, we break down the skills, how to get over that fear, how to stand up and look confident, how to focus on your audience, make eye contact, use your voice.
Wow, that's great. Actually, you share a few tips already. You say we need to kind of control the voice in our head
Yes.
and more be focused on the audience instead of focusing on how we going to give that speech. And I think that's even the thing I mean, when we focus on ourselves, we start worrying a little bit more.
Yes.
And that's probably what make us make mistake while giving our speech, or just sweating and then lose control. Okay.
Yes.
So, Christy, another question is, what inspires you in general?
What inspires me is, I think, just making a difference, seeing people who make a difference in the world or with what they're doing, helping people, doing different projects, sharing information. I think just, sometimes people think, oh, it's a big thing to do all these things to be inspirational. But to me, it's the everyday things that you do in just, helping others, doing the right thing, being true to yourself. And I do a lot of work in safety behavior where people work in dangerous jobs and they get killed. So thinking about, oh, if you see something going on or somebody doing something that doesn't look safe, why don't you just go speak to them, go talk to them? To me, that's inspiring when people can just see that and do something about it.
Chrissy, I really like something. Most people, or some people, when I ask them the question, they just answer that they do what inspires them or what they love about their job is that it pays well. But you adding something a little bit deeper. You're saying that making a difference and helping people, that's
Yes.
what really moves you.
Yeah, it's just, and it could be something small. It doesn't have to be this big thing that you do. It's just something every day, day to day.
And also, you train a lot of leaders.
Yes.
Aren't you afraid or a little bit worrying that person is probably a big boss somewhere and then he comes to you and then you have to tell him exactly what you had to do? I mean, you're probably used to it at this point, but in the beginning, how was it? Weren't you a little bit intimidated?
Yes, I think it goes back to the self-talk and being positive and really, I still get nervous. I mean, I think if you don't get a little bit nervous, then you're too comfortable probably.
Exactly.
But I go in and I think about this person puts their pants on one leg at a time, just like I do. There's no superheroes or superhuman beings. It doesn't matter what your title is. In fact, one of my bosses many years ago shared, don't be in love with your title or the name on the door because it's really not that important. And I find in different areas that I work in, people have different titles. So you might think, oh, this is a vice president, but yet in another company they might be a manager or a supervisor. So I've learned over the years that titles aren't really that important. Because if you focus on the title, oh, this person's CEO or this person's this, and you can get psyched, that's that voice saying, oh gosh, what if they don't like what I say, or what if they challenge me, and that goes into that negative self-talk versus saying, oh, I'm here to help this person and I'm just going to be myself and point out what I see, and if they like it, great. If they don't, I mean,
Yes.
it's up to them what they do with information that I give them.
So in other words, you need to be just yourself.
Yes.
And especially, I also like what you say about the voice in our head. That's probably what block most people. Because I remember before getting into this journey and meeting great people like yourself, I had also that little voice in my head saying, what if it doesn't work? What if? How important do you think it is to handle that voice in our head?
It's extremely important. I mean, every leader that I coach, every person that I coach, it starts with that voice and that belief in yourself. And so one of the things that I work with people on is we identify, what is that voice telling you, and deep down, what are some of the things that you've learned through your experience that's been ingrained in your mind that is negative. And I call that, it's a mental model. So it's basically how you're behaving, and you may not even be aware of it at a conscious level. So it's really becoming aware of what are those experiences that led to that. What is your mental model that's operating you today, your behavior, and how can we reframe that to be a little bit more positive? And you have to be aware of it first before you can do anything about it. So it's extremely important. Because
actually, as long as you're not aware about it, you'll be just walking around not knowing that it's not necessarily you, but it's that voice in your head.
And it's nonstop programming. And it's about 800 words a minute. Just negative, negative, negative. And you have to be able to stop and re-script. Tell yourself, oh, it's going to be okay. This is going to be fine. If I mess up, it's okay. I'm going to learn from that. And I think a lot of people just get so nervous and worked up about things and people and situations. And a lot of it is that voice.
It reminds me actually of a quote. The quote say, fear has killed more dream than failure. It's probably just related.
Yes. And everyone has fears. Everyone gets nervous. It's just how you manage that, how you control even your physical presence so that even if you are nervous, people don't necessarily see it because you've learned skills and techniques to control it. But a lot of it starts with the voice.
Wow. Another question is, I mean, you meet great leader basically, I think on a daily basis, or at least a lot of them. And what do you think are the qualities you find in great leaders actually, in the best one?
Yes, I'd say the qualities for the best leaders are, first of all, having a vision and being able to communicate that vision to inspire other people. Because if you're a leader, especially of an organization, you know, there's goals and objectives, but what's the vision? Where are you taking people? And are you inspiring them to follow you? Another thing that I see is delegation. I work with a lot of leaders that have worked their way up, and now they're leading a lot of people, and they're still doing the work. They're still doing the job. So it's hard for them to let go and delegate and trust other people. So delegation is a big area that I coach a lot of leaders on, because they're too involved in the business and they're not being the inspiring visionary. So that would be really important. Communication and interpersonal skills. A lot of people don't have empathy. They can't demonstrate empathy and truly relate to other people and understand everybody has situations and things that come up that they have to deal with. So being able to use the skills to show that you care. Exactly. And part of that too is just being authentic, being true to yourself. There's a lot out there these days on authenticity and really being true to who you are. Yes. And following that through. And I have people say, oh, well, that's not who I am. That's not my personality. And yet they still have to figure out a way to inspire others and behave a little bit differently. We're not changing who you are. We're just bumping up your skills and changing your behavior so that it works more for you.
Wow, that's great. So I have about 4 or 5 keys that you just share with us. You say vision, you say delegation, you say communication, you say empathy, and that's 4 or 5.
Well, empathy to me falls under the communication, because it's really a skill that you use for that.
Okay, so it's intertwined. It's about the same, actually. Okay.
And I think, too, I would say just passion for what you do, believing in what you do, and a lot of times people see through that you really believe and you care what you're doing and you're passionate about it. You know, I work with a lot of people and leaders, and I see a lot of information where people are not passionate about what they do. They're striving for what's the best job for me. They want to change careers. And I think I was lucky because I had a mentor who believed in me and suggested that I be a trainer. I would have never, my career path, who knows where I would be, because I was terrified to speak. So why would I ever apply to be a trainer or speaker?
And another thing mentors do is, instead of letting you look for yourself for maybe years, they just, because of the experience, they're able to see far away, and they make you save all that time. So maybe you would have become a trainer after 5 years of looking around. It just made that time a little bit shorter for you. Well, with your skills, you'll be perfect at this.
Yes, because once I did the job, I've always been in this field. And I see a lot of people these days that are becoming coaches and aspiring to be coaches to help other people. And I've been so lucky that I've been doing it my whole career.
Actually, how long you've been coaching?
I started out training and coaching since 1990.
Wow.
So 25 years.
Wow.
It was my first job. And I've evolved over time to coaching people in my class, to doing just coaching of people that I've never met or never been in a class. I looked for a process that I believed in and got certified to be a coach. And so I'm using that process where I was talking about identifying mental models, and I do have a coaching process that I use. And then I also do coaching for speaking and presenting and for trainers as well.
I hope you share that the process with us sometimes.
Yes, but I love what I do, and I used to think I didn't want to coach people that were not in a class, but I realized that I also wanted to be home a little bit more and have flexibility, because when you're training and speaking, you're there on site, and I do travel quite a bit, and that took me away from my family, and I realized I need to be home more. So what's a way I can be home more? And I realized I could do more coaching over the phone and be able to help people from a distance that weren't necessarily in a class.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I do like it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And actually, it's a great way of helping people. Even they can be in Canada, they can be in different states.
Yes.
Just for the phone, you can help them if they have an issue, a problem on the spot. You can just help them.
Yes, I've worked with people in Kazakhstan,
Wow.
in London, in Canada, Amsterdam.
But I'm glad about something. I'm really happy for the fact that you've been coaching for so long. That necessarily means that you have a wealth of experience. Can you tell us some experience you had, a little bit funny, with some of those leaders who came to you for help? Or?
I share an experience of someone who came to me for help that was maybe funny, or I would say there was one gentleman that I coached that he was in charge of a lot of people, and he would very much not into people. Like, I don't care what people think. I mean, he loved what he did, but not necessarily seeing other people's point of view, which is the empathy part that I was speaking of. And also emotional intelligence, being able to really take a look at yourself and how you manage yourself, and then also look at others and how you relate to others. And he really struggled in that area because he thought, well, I don't care what they think, or I just want to tell them what to do. I want to tell them their job and have them go do it. And not everyone was doing the job, and he was getting frustrated and didn't really know how to handle it or give feedback, and it really irritated him that people weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Yes, actually, I think that's even a big problem, because if you're not able to relate with them, they'll probably have a hard time trusting you. And if there are no trusts, that becomes a little bit complicated.
Yes, it's very complicated, because you want to be able to, in order to inspire others. I mean, that's part of being authentic, being yourself. He was not seeing the part that was so important, the interpersonal skills.
As we already mentioned it, you have a lot of experience, and I wanted, if you can use the experience to explain us first. This day we talk a lot about success. Mm-hmm. If you go, for example, on YouTube, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos talking about success. What, with all the experience you had working with great leaders, great people, what's success for you?
I would say success is doing something that you love and that you're passionate about, and accomplishing your goals and whatever you want to do, whether you work for a company and you have goals, or you work for yourself. I think success is up to each person and what their individual goals are, and being able to have a goal and a vision for yourself and what you want to accomplish, and then being committed to it and doing whatever it takes to make that happen, to be successful. So to me, it's not monetary, or, there's a lot of different factors, but success, I think, is different to each person. To me, it's about having a goal, doing the necessary steps and actions, whether it's training yourself, finding a mentor, whatever your goal and objective is, to be committed to it and stay focused to it.
Okay. And also, when we talk about success, on the other hand, we see failure. Mm-hmm. I know that no one likes it, but how do you look at failure?
I know. It's interesting. I was just working with someone that I'm coaching we had this conversation. What is failure?
Yes.
Because For some people, failure is not an option.
Yes.
And yet, we know that to learn and grow, we have to make mistakes.
Exactly.
So I personally have never focused on the word failure. It's just not something that resonates with me. To me, it's more about just knowing that life is a journey of learning. And in order to learn and grow, you have to make mistakes. Some result in failure, but I think that means things to different people. And to me, we had this conversation about what does that really mean, and it's more about learning from your mistakes and knowing it's okay to make a mistake.
Yes, because actually, I've seen some people, every time they make a mistake, or every time they fall, they fail, they basically give up.
Yes.
Because they don't want that pain, they don't want to suffer, because for them, failure means suffering. I mean, I thought about it also lately, but I realized that sometimes we need to try to fail our way to success, in the sense that maybe sometimes it's only by failing that we learn a little bit more, and as you grow, as you say, we learn and grow sometimes by failing.
Yes. To me, failure though is one of those words that's very negative. So it's also it goes back to the rescripting of how you see failure. And someone that I'm working with now, that's what we're looking at is, well, it's not really failure. It's things didn't go well. What can I do better next time? What can I learn from this experience? How can I make sure I improve next time?
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So you don't even look at it that way. You just...
I really don't. I've always been a very positive, optimistic person. And when I work with people who have a lot of the negative self-talk and just very, your first instinct is to, oh, this is going to be hard. I'm going to fail. What if this doesn't work? What if people don't like me? To me, that all goes to, you've got to rescript that to say, it's okay because I'm going to learn from it. And nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. And we move on. We pick up and we move on. So part of that is the commitment and the drive to keep striving and keep learning every day.
When I mentioned that I will be interviewing you, and what you do is basically training leaders, coaching them, someone asked me to ask you, what is true leadership?
I think true leadership is being authentic and being yourself, learning how to change and behave differently in different situations, which to me is that emotional intelligence, having all the different, we call it soft skills, all of the different skills to be able to relate to people and to be yourself and who you are, but also be there for other people too. When you can be authentic and be yourself and know that people trust you and they build a relationship with you, they see that you genuinely care about them. I would say that's true leadership. And doing what you say you're going to do as well. To me, part of authenticity is, being yourself. But if you say you're going to do something, let's follow through and do it. But I work with a lot of folks who don't follow through and don't follow up. And so people don't see that as leadership because they're thinking, well, if they're saying it and not doing it, then why do I have to do it? Or they're not setting the example for me. They're saying one thing but doing another. And to me, that's important to be able to do
so leadership, true leadership, is centered around authenticity and integrity.
Yes.
Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
And of course, it needs to be positive. You need to take people in the right direction.
Yes, there's a lot of other things, the vision and the things that we talked about earlier, but I think just people can see through if you're not genuine or not being yourself. Sometimes people are very intimidated by leaders, like we talked about. Do you get nervous if you're dealing with, people get really intimidated by title or leaders, and in reality, we can all be leaders. We all are leaders.
Really?
Yes.
I thought leaders most leaders are born leaders. Don't you think that's not the case?
Do I think leaders are born?
Yes.
No.
Wow.
I think leaders are made. If you want to be a leader, then you can. You show up as a leader every day. One of the groups that I work with that I mentioned, the safety training and the dangerous jobs,
Yes.
we're telling them you're a leader out there. You're not just a worker, you're a leader. No, you don't manage other people, but how do you show up daily as a leader? It goes back to that every day making a difference. So if you see something that's not right, stand up and say something. Lead the way by addressing something with someone, whether you know them or not. Having the confidence and the courage to do that.
So not just waiting for the promotion, not just waiting for the title, but taking a little action as a leader every day.
Yes. I think people get caught up again in the titles.
Yes.
A leader is anyone.
Actually, most people wait for the title. I will start acting like, as a leader the day I will have the title. Most people, that's what they wait for.
But I think because I had a boss years ago, again, it goes back to having people in your lives that give you those messages that you're like, oh, that makes sense to me. Or maybe you don't realize it at the time, but later you say, oh, he said don't worry about the titles or names on the door and titles. And I thought, I think at the time I wasn't really sure about that. But as you evolve and you grow as a leader and you start thinking, those messages stay with you. He also told, this same person,
Yes.
he also told me it's the 50 little things that you do. It's not the big things, it's the 50 little things that you do every day that make a difference. Day to day, just all your little interactions, your behaviors, what you do every day, those add up to are you being yourself? Are you being authentic? Did you help someone? Did you make a difference? Did you do the right thing? I think that's what I get out of that message now. But at the time, I wasn't sure about it. I was like, oh, but I've always remembered it. And I tell people that too, because another way to look at that is people get overwhelmed by maybe a big task they have to do. For example, I'm working with someone who's wanting to, let's say, write a book. And they're, all this book. And I said, just write for 10 minutes every day. Take a break from your job and just write for 10 minutes. And she loved that, and she's been doing it ever since. And she's got all sorts of information documented now.
And another thing, because for example, you said the 50 little things, and that's a great tip if you want to write a book, for example, just take 10 minutes a day. It looks like it comes down to the basic, to the little action to take constantly.
Yes.
Christy, can you share with us actually some ideas or some thoughts that really influence your life, influence your way of doing things nowadays? Or the way you coach, the way you lead, the way you train?
I would say one thing that I was thinking about advice, or just as you were saying that,
sure.
The one thing that popped into my mind was, I remember early on a family member, before I was getting married,
Yes.
my family member, the advice that they said, it was a message, never go to sleep angry. And I thought, oh, that makes so much sense. And I have followed that, and I've applied that to leaders and just how I do, because first of all, I rarely get angry.
Yes.
And it's a matter of being able to work through your differences, not taking things personally, being able to communicate and talk things out. And so that when you go to sleep, it's all clear, and you wake up with a fresh mind the next day, and you're not worried about it or holding on to something. And what I see a lot of times in the leaders that I coach and people that I train, they have resentment that they've been holding on to for years, or maybe anger or an unresolved difference. And it takes a lot of energy to think about that and worry about that, instead of just resolving it right then and there, at the time, and just that's something I've always remembered. So, and I even talked to my brother, and I told him that, and he said, "Well, I don't remember that at all. I wish I would have gotten that advice."
But that's a great advice, because actually it ends the circle of pain. When you're hungry, you feel bad, and if you sleep with the anger, you probably won't sleep well, and the next day will be influenced by what you felt the day before.
Yes.
Okay, that's a great tip, actually.
Yes, and no one takes better care of you than you. So you've also got to make sure that you take care of yourself. And a lot of that is work-life balance, because I think back to say, oh gosh, I worked so much when I was younger. And as you get older and you have a family, you know, it's hard if you work too much and you don't take breaks or vacations. And I think work-life balance is something I see a lot of people looking for these days. And I feel like I maybe didn't have it early on, but since I've had my family and been on my own, because I've been on my own for over 15 years, I have worked for myself. And so that has allowed me to have that balance of having a lot of days off and having flexibility in my schedule and being able to say no to things that are not that important in the big scheme.
So basically, knowing how to manage your time, because you know you're responsible.
Yes. But if you don't take breaks and take care of yourself or do things that you love to rejuvenate and give you energy, it just eventually you just burn out. I think a lot of people work in a career they don't love, and they work a lot. They work a lot of hours. I mean, I work with leaders who, one guy I was coaching, his goal was to be first one in the office and last one to leave. And he thought that was setting a good example for everyone. He had to be there before anyone else, and he had to wait until everyone else left before he left. And that was something he thought was important. And yet, when I talked to people about him, they didn't necessarily see him as a leader at all. And they thought he worked too much. They were worried for his health. They were concerned that he was just always working. He was busy doing and not being. So one of the things that I think leaders, what I encourage them and coach them on is to get out and be with your people, talk to people, have conversations, go to the break room, you know, ask how someone's doing. Don't just sit in your office and work all day.
Wow, that's a great tip, actually. Don't just get caught up in doing. You need to be.
Yes.
You need to be. Wow.
Yes, and I'm still learning that. I'm getting better at that myself. I'm working, I was working with a coach who we've been thinking about, why are you doing all these things? And, you know, what about being? And it's more, mine was just more everyday things, doing too many things for other people that I don't necessarily have to do. I can just be. So I'm still learning that, but I coach people, and I think, wow, that applies to me as well. So,
Christy, I really love that. I really love that. You say, take care of yourself, and you also say, sometimes it's not just about doing; it's also about being. Wow, and you say, I mean, what you mentioned is what with a great example of the leader actually were working for so many hours without really being there. Mm-hmm. So in other words, it's not just quantity, it's also quality.
Yes.
It's not just the time you're being in the office, but also the time you're putting in to connect with people, to make other people feel that you're present, that you are there.
Yes, that's what inspires people. You have to be able to talk to them and let them see you being out there. And I learned years ago it was called managing by walking around. It was something I learned early on in my career, and I still find that I coach people on that today, because people get caught up in all their office and having conference calls and no time to interact out in the office unless they're in a meeting or a call, and I just think it's very important to be able to do that.
What about people who want to be one day like you? What advice would you give them?
I would suggest they look at finding a mentor. Who do they look up to? Being able to put that vision out there of this is what I want to do, and then how do I get there? Finding mentors, and a mentor could be someone you know, someone that is in the public. Nowadays you have YouTube, you can look and see who you like and what do they do, what are they writing, do you like that, is that who you are, and really just being yourself, but having a vision for yourself and then committing to the steps to get there. And not getting overwhelmed by, oh, I have to do all these things to be perfect or to be this. No, one day at a time. What are your actions that are going to make a difference? Even if you spend 10 minutes a day doing something that is toward your goal of where you want to be, that's better than nothing, because most people get overwhelmed and then they do nothing.
Oh.
Instead of just looking at little actions you can take every day to lead up to your goal. Go to training, learn as much as you can, read, look at other people that are in the profession that you want to be in, see what they're doing, see what they're writing, are they on videos, those kinds of things.
Okay, so it's more about being mentored, and if you don't have someone directly next to you to mentor you, nowadays there are a lot of resources, there are books, there are videos, there are training materials you can always go through.
Yes, I think some people can just read a book and do the action. I think a lot of people who come to help for coaching is they know what to do, but they don't know how to do it, or they're stuck where they are and they need help coming up with a plan of those steps to get there. And what can I do to help me get there? Because it gets overwhelming, and just reading a book doesn't always work for some people.
Yeah.
Some people need that conversation, that mentor,
that little push,
someone that they can ask their opinions and get all sorts of feedback. Being open to critique and, well, this person doesn't agree. Maybe they say you can't do that, but I also say don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do.
Exactly.
Yes, because you can do whatever you want. You just have to commit to it and do the actions towards it.
Christy, actually we're getting slowly but surely toward the end of our interview, and I have two more questions. It'll be some general question, but a little bit deeper. The first question is, what do you think? I mean, we come to work, we help people, we make things happen. Because I know you make things happen. You get results even when you do some coaching. The point, the outcome is to get results, to help leaders be more effective and overcome the issue they had or the roadblock they were facing.
Yeah.
So, but in general, actually, what do you think the purpose of life is?
The purpose of life.
Yes, like, why doing all
Wow,
of
you
this?
are getting deep.
Yes, really deep. Actually.
The purpose of life. I would say the purpose is to live it to your passion and what you want to do. Because, it's basically just living. For me, traveling, seeing the world, I love travel. To me, that's living. I saw a speaker that was interviewed. It's a YouTube, it's a TED Talk, actually.
Oh.
Rick Elias, he was on the plane that landed on the Hudson. And it's a very short story about his experience. And he says that all in all of his lessons that he learned. I won't give it away because you can watch the. I'll leave it teaser. But it was more about the funny part was he no longer collects bad wine. So if the wine is ready and people are there, he wants to open it. As opposed to a lot of times people put off things, or they save. I look at my dad who saved every penny his entire life. He never really spent it, but he lived life doing what he wanted to do. He lived on the lake. He retired early. He was with my mom for 50 years, and he worked in the yard every day. He would get up and just water his yard and be with my mom, and that was living to him after he worked a career. But I think just live your life, do what you want to do, and don't wait. Don't wait. Don't postpone. Yeah. Purpose of life is to live.
To live, actually.
And do things you enjoy, because if you're caught up working all the time, that's not living to me.
And then after a while, you'll be surprised that you didn't live because you were just all over the place, not taking care of yourself, not enjoying your life.
Yes, no regret. So, and if you didn't take any risks of maybe a career that you wanted to do or something that you were really passionate about, again, because a lot of people are in jobs that they are not happy with, they're not passionate about it, but yet they are stuck and they don't take a risk to live a little bit differently or do something differently. So I think that's important.
And probably our last question is, this video, a lot of people watch it, different people. I have a lot of followers from Africa already, a lot of followers from France, because I also speak French. I have a lot of followers here and there. And maybe those people, maybe some of our followers will never had a chance to meet you face to face. Some will probably try to get counselors or to get some coaching from you. But for those who won't have a chance to meet you face to face, and for those who will probably watch this video, I don't know, 10 years, 20, 50 or 60 years later, how would you want them to remember you when they say Christy?
That I made a difference.
Oh, that's great.
Inspired them to know that they can believe in themselves and accomplish anything they want to. Put your mind to it and do it. And live. Don't postpone.
Oh, wait. That's a great lesson to share with us.
So live and also make a difference, which to me goes back to the little things that you can do every day, you know, helping other people. You never know what little act of kindness you might do that would make someone's day. I see people posting now on Facebook where someone bought their coffee, you know, a stranger buys their coffee, and, you know, just different things like that. To me, you never know when someone really needs that. And they're like, wow, someone bought my coffee for me. This is amazing.
So live, love yourself, don't postpone, and the little things.
Yes. That make a difference.
Well, we're at the end of our interview. Thanks again, Christy, for your time, for your precious time. Thanks again for all the great lessons you share with us. After this video, what I will do is I will put a link to your website.
Okay.
So everyone who watches this video will have a way to either get in touch with you or get coached by you. And that's basically it.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you found me and reached out to me.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.